You're probably here because you want to know more about which competition kettlebell to choose between these two companies, Kettlebell Kings, Kettlebells USA. So basically, what you want to know about these two kettlebells right here, between Kettlebell Kings and Kettlebells USA, Paradigm Pro Elite. These are both 35 millimeter handles on these kettlebells, and they also come in 33 millimeters. So I'm just going to tell you what I've noticed by using all sorts of kettlebells over the past decade. These are very close weight. This is 28. I compete in 28 kilograms, so either snatch if I'm competing or double long cycle where I use 28 kilograms. And this is a 30, so I have two 30s, 28s, different 28s, and Valery Fedorenko's. Anyway, what you're here for is to see the differences, okay? So if you notice, they're very, very similar. What I'm going to go and point out right away is through here, basically, the window of the Kettlebell Kings is shorter. There's a couple millimeters difference here. So I can take a lacrosse ball. Here, let me grab this. Maybe you can see the difference. So right here, here's a yoga tune-up ball or lacrosse ball size right there. Okay, so it'll stay there, right? It'll stay there. It'll go through a little easier. Okay, so it's a lot in the corners especially. So here's the corner right there. It'll stay there. Corners, rolls right out. So the window is slightly larger, okay? Now, it seems like the weight for the Kettlebells USA is more in this vicinity, okay? It seems like the weight is a little bit lower in the Kettlebells USA. Kettlebell King seems to be a little higher, okay? For a person that uses cast bells, it seems a little bit closer for here. When you go through at a 45-degree angle, okay? You go through here at a 45-degree angle, there is more space for that here, okay? So I go through, it's much tighter, okay? So I feel more pressure here. Now, whether or not you choose this bell versus this bell, it just depends on how you're built, okay? So wrist, your hand, your grip. That's why I like testing out bells before I decide which one that I like the best, okay? Let's go to the handle. Every handle you get is going to rust at some point if there's moisture, okay? So you can sand that off. This is an interesting, I don't know the exact metal, steel combination, whatever that these bells are using, but you can hear a difference. Listen. Now, is that almost an octave difference? I don't know. I don't care. But you can hear a difference. When you're doing double long cycles, I've done a whole lot of this. When these bells touch, you can hear, it's more of a dampened sound. When these touch, it's more of a springy, a bouncy ding kind of, I don't know. I just feel almost more of a rebound here, okay? So very, very similar. They're both hollow constructed kettlebells. What I notice in the paint, there's more of a matte finish here. It seems a little thicker, but you can tell that everything will chip. If you're hitting two pieces of metal together, paint will chip off, okay? There's someone had a watch or something. But I've noticed, I've had this kettlebell, and like I said, I use a lot of long cycle. The paint holds up, okay? On both of them, they're very nicely made. They're very well done. Handles feel good. There's a little bit more roughage. Kettlebells USA has kind of a porous, almost feeling coating sort of like the Valery Fedorenko's of a few years ago had. So chalk stays on there real fast. It sticks to it really quick. I use the liquid chalk to cover these up. The handle seems a little bit more slippery, I guess you would say, due to whatever the steel is. I didn't find a single problem in this handle when I got these. There's a couple rougher edges that I noticed. You can get in there where it looks like it was sanded, with a manual sander of some sort on this when I got them. Like I said, they're very, very close. This is a 28 kilogram. This is a 30. So I don't notice, other than 4.4 pounds, this feels, even on the bells that I've used that were 28 kilograms, the weight feels closer to my wrist than on rack position on the Kettlebell Kings, okay? I have a better feeling, personally, when the handles overlap. So when I rack my rack position, I have my right hand, so right hand over the left, the handle over the handle when I'm in the rack position. I like having a little bit more play, and I find that with this. You might be smaller wrist, smaller hand might fit in here better. If you have a larger wrist, larger hand, it might fit in here better. Some people like, the difference between whether you're doing jerks and long cycle or snatches. Just depends. So that weight might feel easier to be when you flip the bell, right? So when the bell goes for the snatch or the clean and it kind of rolls over to the side of your rack position, you might like a closer feel, faster feel. This might feel a little bit slower and give you a little bit more time to work on hand insertion, okay? That's a big thing about kettlebell sport, is getting that hand insertion. This is too tight for me. Not too tight, I can use them, but I just like a little bit more, especially if I'm doing a lot of snatches. As I get fatigued, my hand kind of I've caught my hand a little bit more in this area because it is not as large of a window. Trying to think of other things. There's no nicks other than the paint job. These are super, super solid bells. Dropped them both, not on purpose, but, on a fatigued end of kettlebell snatches at the bottom, getting ready for my last rep, lost the grip at the bottom. Trying to think anything else. You can see the one thing is a very large difference. This is taller. You can, go right to it. It's definitely taller, okay? So I'll put that right there. Notice how there's space, okay? This is right on the top, flat. There is space over here, okay? Right there, you can see it. But how the post comes down into the kettlebell, there's a sharper angle on the Kettlebell Kings that comes down in here. So for me, that's really hitting a spot on my ulna, okay? On the lower bone of your lower arm, the bottom. And here it's not as much. So that could be something to consider. Whether you feel, if you're a shorter or a taller person, all this stuff, your lever lengths really have a lot to do with your kettlebell snatches and every movement, really. But anyway, snatch, I noticed that it depends on how fast you revolve this weight around or into your wrist, okay? So some people need a faster or slower, and they will feel different, even if they're the same weight here. They're predominantly the same size. I feel that I can just feel it. It's a little smaller, okay? So you could do a tape measure. I don't have one with me, but I can just feel it, okay? Trying to think. Paint job, good. It seems like when there's chips here, they're smaller. If there's chips here, it seems like they it's larger, it's not thicker. It seems like there's a little thicker paint on the Kettlebell Kings. Both are recessed, so not going to really get in the way of anything. There's nothing in the way of that 45-degree angle. There's no beveled edges. It's all the same. Trying to think of other stuff. They seem very, very similar on the bottom, how they're recessed. There is a brace in the Kettlebells USA, which I do not see in the Kettlebell Kings. I've never had a problem with it. Like I said, these have dropped. I have so many of different ones. But I just want to make this video to show you differences. We can bring them a little closer so you can see above. If you see any differences, try to get this as close as I can. Whoops, it's getting in the way. I mean, other than that, these are, I'd say, probably the two best kind of bells that you can get for competition wise. Anyway, there you go. Hope you can make an informed decision on Kettlebell Kings or Kettlebells USA. All right, Joe from Swing This, and see you later.